Greetings, fellow scholars of the livestream. I'm Kutakuma from the Cosmo Observatory, and in today's analysis, we'll take a detailed look at Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's piano performance minigame. Keep in mind that this analysis was first published on our CCO Substack on September 27, 2023, and continually expanded upon by the other minigames revealed thus far, which we have already covered in previous videos and may complete with one final video to keep each one at a digestible length. So, make sure to subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell if you haven't already to not miss out on gems like the Welcoming Ceremony March, Moogle Mischief, and G-Bike. The videos covering Queen's Blood and the Chocobo minigames are already available, so make sure to check those out if you haven't already. Now, without further ado, let's get started! This next minigame tickles our rhythm game itch, and Viz hasn't had that itch satisfied ever since the era of Guitar Hero and Rock Band games. Instead of merely learning a melody and being able to jam around a bit with a very limited note spectrum, piano performance has grown into a full-on rhythm game with a multitude of in-game themes to play along to. We also get a glimpse of Tifa's childhood room and a dining hall somewhere in Costa del Sol. But one thing at a time. The official description of this minigame can be found in a blog post on the Square Enix website about Rebirth's world. After obtaining a piece of sheet music, head to a piano and try your hands at performing it. These pieces feature music from the game, with some proving to be quite the challenge. If you would rather improvise, however, you can perform original music in the free play mode. This description alone greatly exceeds the original version's scope of this minigame. But before we dive into the mechanics of this vastly enhanced minigame and everything surrounding it, let's first recall how it worked and what it offered in the original game. During the flashback to the Nibelheim incident, you can visit Tifa's house and even her bedroom. Besides looking through her drawers and reading the letters she received from one of the other boys who left for Midgar a few years prior, you can also decide to play the piano. Select "Yeah, I jammed on it" to freely play around to your heart's content. Selecting "I forgot" afterwards displays the button layout. Or select "Just a little" to have Cloud automatically play the notes on the sheet music resting on the piano, which combine into the first 13 notes of Final Fantasy VII's main theme. This is the same tune you must play yourself on this very same piano after Cloud regains his true memories with Tifa's help. Doing so reveals a hidden letter from Zangan and his last training manual for Tifa, which contains instructions for her level 4 limit break, Final Heaven. You can also interact with the piano 3 times during the first current day visit to find Tifa's hidden savings of 1 gil, or returning with Tifa as the party leader while searching for Cloud to find an elemental materia, but only if Cloud jammed on it during the flashback. Speaking of jamming, the controls for playing yourself are quite simple and thus very limiting. On the PlayStation, you use the 4 face buttons, cross, square, triangle, and circle, alone and in combination with either of the bumper buttons, L1 and R1, to play all 7 notes of the C major tonal scale, plus the higher octave of the bass tone, Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. This is what you need to repeat the beginning of FF7's main theme. Besides that, you can also play the following 3 major triad chords, C, F, and G, plus the higher octave version of the C chord. Those merely exist for fun though, and are not utilized for anything else. That's it for the original version of the piano minigame. While Cloud claims to be able to read sheet music in the original game, he seems to have grown into quite the master pianist in Rebirth. When comparing the 2 versions, old and new, we can make out many similarities, although it is now not just limited to the first 13 notes of Final Fantasy VII's main theme and limited freestyle jamming. On the contrary, as mentioned before, it has turned into a full-on rhythm game. Cloud will most likely be able to sit down in front of any piano in any town and jam away. There are many facets to this minigame, so let's go through them one by one. Playing notes is not much different than in the original game, besides using the analog sticks instead of a multitude of individual buttons and button combinations. For the left hand, we have the chord wheel, which offers a chord version of all 7 bass notes of the scale, unlike the original version, which only provides 3 distinct chords. For the right hand, we find the same 7 individual notes on the scale, plus the octavated bass tone do mirroring its original counterpart. To play a note or chord, you simply need to tilt the right or left analog stick into the direction of the desired note or chord, and Cloud will actually hit the correct keys on the piano to play the chord with his left and the single note with his right hand, as we can see here. In action, however, Cloud's movements are random, though the key press animations do represent the notes you hit. On top of that, the Reborn version offers a myriad of options for allowing to play most type of chords and individual notes. The top options are barely visible in the English screenshot, so Viz edited the image to make the text readable for those not proficient in the Japanese language. Fortunately, the legibility of the options at the bottom is already provided. Let's start from the top, which is seemingly the option with the most question marks attached to it. Pressing up on the directional pad apparently switches to monotones. We think that this is a mistranslation, as the Japanese term tanon modo translates to monophonic mode. Monophonic is not the same as monotone. The former describes a melody comprised of only single notes, lacking any sort of harmony, while the latter is defined as a sound or string of sounds unchanging in pitch and loudness. Monophonic makes thus much more sense. We haven't seen this option used in action yet, so we can only speculate, but Viz assumes activating it removes the harmonies from the chord wheel and turns it into just another single note wheel, allowing you to create your own harmonies by layering only 2 notes max onto each other compared to normal chords with at least 3 notes plus the single note from the right wheel. This option is also located on the chord wheel side, so it should only apply to that one. Other than the other top options, it seems to be a toggle and not a holding down switch. This is corroborated by the fact that any option button not mapped to a bumper or trigger button cannot be simultaneously used while playing notes, as our thumbs will be busy with tilting the analog sticks. Monophonic mode being a trigger switch is therefore much more feasible. Next up are 2 semitone options activated by holding down the trigger button L2 or R2, as indicated by the small downward facing triangle on top of each button icon. During certain sections of Noda-san's performance of Aerith's theme, all chords and individual notes receive the sharp suffix, which looks like a hashtag and indicates a semitonal increase of the sound while the R2 button is pressed, as seen by the bluish coloring of the R2 option's background. Since those options are semi-transparent during play, we do not need to care about those buttons and can focus on the analog sticks. We suppose those options only matter during freestyle mode, but more on that in a bit. L2, on the other hand, most likely does the opposite and decreases all chords and individual notes by a semitone, adding the flat suffix to chord and note descriptors while it's being pressed. Unfortunately, semitone down is never used during Aerith's theme in the showcase. Lastly, we have the minor mode mapped to the L1 bumper button. While held down, all chords switch to their minor variant. Each chord has a major and minor variation, with the former being the default setting here. We can see this in action a few times during the live play session when the L1 button option receives a bluish background and an M suffix is added to each chord label. In case you're not familiar with major and minor chords, a simple major chord consists of a major third and a minor third. A major third consists of 2 whole tones and a minor third of a whole tone and a semitone. A minor chord is made up the other way around, a minor third first, followed by a major third. Effectively, only the second of the 3 notes changes. A major chord sounds cheerful, while a minor chord has a more melancholic feel to it. Situated below the chord and note wheels are the options to change key and octave. Key option 3 out of 6 and octave position 3 out of 5 are considered standard, as we begin every play session in those states. For the key setting, this would be the major triad, a major chord made up of the 1st, 3rd, and 5th notes of the scale. 2 examples. The C major chord consists of the notes C, E, G, whereas the A minor chord is made up of the notes A, C, and E. In Aerith's theme during the live play session, this option changes to the 4th setting at some point, where we see the number 7 added to all minor chords. This key adds the 7th note of the scale to the already existing triad, upgrading it into a quartet. Other options might cover a suspended 2nd or 4th, a diminished chord, or even an augmented chord. In a suspended 2nd or 4th chord, the 2nd note of the triad is either moved down, sus2, or up, sus4, 1 position on the scale. Example, C, F, G instead of C, E, G, which is a C sus4, or C, D, G, which is a C sus2. A diminished chord is basically a minor triad chord, but with its 3rd note, the 5th note on the scale, decreased by a semitone. Example, C, E, G flat. An augmented chord is similar to a diminished chord, but with 2 major thirds making up the triad. Essentially, a major triad chord with the 3rd note, the 5th on the scale, increased by a semitone. Example, C, E, G sharp. This option is inactive and changes automatically during normal song play. In freestyle mode, however, you can change the key by using left and right on the directional pad and down to reset it to the standard major key. The octave option is much easier to understand and explain. By pressing square, the whole scale for the individual note wheel is shifted down 1 octave so you can play deeper notes. By pressing the circle button, all notes on the right wheel are shifted upward by 1 octave, allowing you to play higher notes. The cross button resets the octave setting to the middle option. This also happens at some point during the live play session with Notice-On at Tokyo Game Show 2023, as we can see here. As with the key setting, octave changes happen automatically during song plays. Before selecting a song to play, we're in freestyle mode, where all the previously described options are active and freely available. After sitting down in front of a piano, you can immediately start jamming out on it to warm up for a song or just have some fun. In this mode, an additional minor mode UI element is added to indicate whether minor mode is on or not, to telegraph its activation besides the colored L1 minor mode button to the left, if pressed. This is the only difference in the UI compared to play mode. Speaking of play mode, you can open the song selection menu by pressing the touchpad. More on that shortly. If you don't feel like playing a specific song or jam in freestyle mode, you can press the option button to step away from the piano. Another option is related to some sharp and flat display. We're not sure what it does, since we think the current display of those symbols is pretty clear, at least to Viz. Whatever it may represent, it's not really important to this analysis. What is important, however, is the 4th and last option, character change. Pressing the triangle button seems to switch between all currently available party members. Are all of them now suddenly master pianists? How can Barrett play with only 1 functional hand? What about Red 13? Please make him selectable here. You already put him on a chocobo in a sitting position, which is hilariously funny and adorable. Why not have him try his metal on the piano using his paws? Please, somebody draw this. Viz might make an attempt himself should he find the time to do so at some point before release. Selecting a song is pretty straightforward. In the live play session, only Tifa's theme and Aerith's theme were available to play. Hamaguchi-san put Noda-san on the spot and made him choose between Tifa and Aerith, essentially making him reveal in which camp he is in. It was a pretty funny exchange. Anyway, we can see in the list of songs how difficult each one is according to the number of golden stars it has. Tifa's theme has 2, while Aerith's theme has 3 stars. We wonder what the maximum number of stars could be. 7? 10? In any case, the currently selected song's properties are shown in the area below. The top one represents the song duration, 2 minutes and 14 seconds for Tifa's theme, and 2 minutes and 8 seconds for Aerith's theme. Displayed below are the number of notes to hit, 146 for Tifa's theme and 142 for Aerith's theme. And below that is not another song property, but the setting for note speed, with 5 levels. We assume this defines how fast the golden ring segments move from the center to the edge, essentially enlarging or shrinking the reaction window, but also increasing or decreasing clutter on the display. The slower the indicators, the more of them will be visible on screen at the same time. Viz personally likes how you can change this setting before each play sessions and cater it according to your preference. Naturally, as almost every minigame in Rebirth, we need to reach certain target scores to either earn better rewards or a better ranking, like in this case, which ranges from C to S. The more notes you hit and the more accurately you hit them, the higher the score at the end. We've been talking a lot about options, the UI, the button layout, and even the minigame's framework and windows. So we suppose we should finally get to the meat of it, shouldn't we? It's pretty simple actually. Golden ring segments move from the center to the outer ring. We then need to tilt the respective analog stick into the indicated direction. Basically, tilt the stick once the golden timing bar hits the edge of the circle. In this clip, Noda-san managed to hit the So note perfectly, granting him a golden great rating. Above the chord and note rings lie the combo number display and the song position gauge. The former increases by 1 each time you hit a note. If you miss one, it resets to 0. Pretty standard stuff. The blue gauge below merely indicates how far into the song you currently are. Here, we can see the song is basically over, only a couple notes left to hit. In the top left corner, you can find your current performance status. It tells you how many great, good, and bad note hits you've made, and how many you've missed completely. Since it was Noda-san's very first attempt at this minigame, he started off very poorly, but got the hang of it by the end, as we can see the 25 combo and the comparatively high number of great note hits. Lastly, the current song name is displayed in the top right, Aerith's theme in this case. And the option buttons function in the bottom right, which lets you know that you can press the options button to stop playing at any time. We can already foresee many premature rage quits when it doesn't go well during harder songs. Finally, after we finish playing a song, the results are displayed. We receive 100 points for every great rating, 30 for every good rating, 0 for every bad rating, and even a -30 for every missed note. Quite harsh if you ask us, but still fair. Gotta get good, mate. Accumulating those individual rating scores nets you the final score, which is then matched to the target scores for each rank. In Noda-san's case, he didn't even manage to reach rank B, though it was quite close. Only 300 points short. We wonder if there are any rewards tied to this minigame, or only to trophies. You can be sure that Viz will be aiming for an S rank in each of the available songs, maybe even for a maximum score if he feels like it, but we'll see. That's it for the minigame, but as always, we look past the main subject and check out the surroundings too. During the live play session with Noda-san, Cloud is sitting in front of a grand piano situated in the middle of a luxurious-looking dining hall somewhere in Costa del Sol, according to the background music playing during freestyle mode and before starting to play the actual song.
So yes. So you've got this Buster sword as you...
This room seems quite large. The round tables are covered by white, expensive-looking cloth, and the 2 wooden chairs flanking each table almost look like small thrones with their ostentatious crimson padding. The lighting in this room exudes quite a romantic atmosphere thanks to the lanterns on top of each table and even the grand piano, the dim overhead light, and fancy circular dome lights laid into the floor, along with shaded standard lamps. We can also see at least 2 different abstract paintings. The one we see here reminds Viz of seaweed growing out of a body of water, or even a normal plant being born from the live stream. The red dot over the large circular pattern may represent meteor hovering above the planet, threatening planetary life. Viz can also vaguely make out a woman's head between Cloud's hair and the plant, a representation of the last Cetra? Or maybe the red dot is just a Moogle's pom-pom. Who knows? The other one clearly contains an abstract version of the gold saucer. Unfortunately, most of the other parts of the painting are obscured by the piano, though we can clearly make out a form that closely resembles the G clef, also called treble clef, which positions the G note on the second line of the staff from below, the center of its spiral. It's the most commonly used clef in musical notation and usually found on the right-hand staff on a piano sheet music. The F clef, or bass clef, occupies the left-hand staff where the F note is located on the second line from the top, the one between the dots. This musical notation symbol is therefore very closely tied to the piano and thus this minigame. But why the gold saucer imagery? Probably because Costa del Sol is the first station on the western continent for travelers to the gold saucer who came over via passenger ferry or cruise liner. That's it for the Costa del Sol location. In the trailer and official screenshot, however, we get a glimpse of Tifa's room. We'll let these 2 comparison images speak for themselves. Viz isn't entirely sure about the Cloud reference on that poster, since the exposed midriff matches Tifa's much better, but the rest of the silhouette fits Cloud in his Costa del Sol outfit much better. There's also a high chance that this is an Easter egg to Final Fantasy VIII, where the character Zell has a limit break attack called Dolphin Blow, which almost exactly looks like this person on the poster, as you can see here. Here, we have a comparison image devoid of indicators to prevent confusion. By comparing Rebirth's version to the original render, the sleeping corner of Tifa's room has been kept intact. The same piano type, though now rectangular instead of round, the red cushion on the piano stool remains, and Tifa's bedclothes and the carpet on the floor both expose a similar color scheme and thus still feel the same, even though their exact patterns differ. But we're not done yet. During the Tokyo Game Show trailer, when Cloud approaches the piano and decides to play on it, he does so during the flashback. Playing the minigame, on the other hand, happens during the main events of the game while revisiting Nibelheim. And we have 3 pieces of evidence to prove this to you. 1. Cloud's soldier outfit. When deciding to play, the shoulder pauldrons and gloves represent those of a standard issue soldier first class uniform. The same one Zack wears, and thus Cloud during the flashback, and the one Zack makes Cloud wear for their escape from Nibelheim. Cloud only has his uniform changed after reaching Midgar alone. Where, when, and how remains a mystery to this day. 2. When interacting with the piano, a question and 2 possible answers appear. The question, "Did you play the piano?" is asked by Tifa. The no syllable at the end usually indicates a question asked by a female. And the 2 possible answers are, "I did" and "I did not." It looks like you can't just jam on it anymore. You either play or you don't. Viz assumes that this basically acts as a tutorial for this minigame, and if you already know everything about it, you can skip the tutorial by just not playing the piano during the flashback. Let's just hope that not playing it doesn't lock us out of any reward or bonus scene later down the line. 3. During the Tokyo Game Show trailer and the official screenshot, the song currently being played is displayed in the top right corner, and it is neither Tifa's theme nor Final Fantasy VII's main theme, but On Our Way. This is another very strong piece of evidence that we're not in the flashback anymore, as that song has no place there. Viz predicts that this is the first song we obtain in the context of the actual minigame if we sit down in front of a piano located in Calm. On Our Way is the original game's town theme and primarily played in Calm after all. And that's it for piano performance. Other minigames revealed so far, Welcoming Ceremony March, 3D Battler, G-Bike, and Moogle Mischief, will be covered in the last video in this minigame sub-series if time and motivation allows it before the release of the game. So make sure to like this video if you appreciate our work and subscribe to this channel to not miss out on future analysis videos. Have you channeled your inner Mozart yet? Do you think we missed something? What's your take on the difficulty of the game? Please share your thoughts in the comments below or on our Discord server. You can also check us out on Twitter or X for more analysis content with the hashtag #CCOGems. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and take care. Kutakuma signing off.